William. So his name is William Wilberforce.
Wilberforce.
Wilberforce. What a name,
Wilberforce.
too.
What a name.
He was actually the main protagonist for the abolition of slavery. Like, he was the main guy. And it's pretty strange that we've never heard about him. Like, ever. I've never heard about him until 2 weeks ago. He was an abolitionist. He turned Christian in his late 20s. He started the RSPCA, which is the Organization Against Animal Cruelty, back in the 1800s.
But yeah.
So he was against animal cruelty, against obviously human cruelty. And he's such like an interesting figure that I would have guessed would be so popular. But the reason that he isn't, I reckon, is because his faith, his Christian faith, his faith in Christ, guided his decisions. Because that's when he changed his moral values.
From the politician he was,
Yeah.
and to the direction the country was going about all the new laws. And
That's when he encountered Christ. And I think it's such a parallel with Paul, the Apostle
the
Paul
apostle,
in the Bible. Because Paul was Saul, and Saul was actually killing Christians and persecuting Christians. And he had an encounter with Jesus. He got a light shone on him, and Jesus said, "Why are you hurting me?" And he changed his life around.
Yeah.
It's been the same. That story, I've heard it so many times.
Yeah, but then again, when I research and look at his story, as great as he is, he was already a great politician,
Yeah.
which made it easier for him to, because the amount of time he had to pass those acts before he
Yeah.
actually
Get to the abolition.
get to the
yeah.
actual point.
yeah.
People
Because
even
people, let's make it clear, people didn't, there's a lot of people that didn't want to abolish slavery. And slavery, I'm not even talking about because we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade. I'm not talking about black slavery. I'm talking about slavery in general. Slavery is useful.
Yeah.
If you have to be very, pragmatic, slavery is useful.
But still, here,
People didn't want
still
to.
have slavery to this day.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
think
that's
there's more
another-
slaves nowadays
that's
than
another
that's
subject
ever
on
been
another
before.
day. Yeah.
Slavery is useful, and the main reason that people didn't want to abolish slavery was because of money. It was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the highest grossing business back then, selling people, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of pushback, a lot.
Yeah, but the same people started to pay tax to the same people.
Oh yeah, slavery hasn't really been abolished, to be honest.
No.
Yeah, you're a slave like us. Even you at your 200, 100, $300,000 a year. You know why you're a slave?
Because of the,
Go online today. Just say what you think.
you get, yeah.
You get fired.
We might be banned
We will,
from, we might
You're
be
a
shut
slave.
down.
You're a slave to like
To the things that you
to the
you
things.
can't,
And that's what we're talking about, being free. You a slave to your wage, your boss. Maybe you don't want to admit it. Maybe you could take like 3-4 holidays a year. Even then, are you really free? Are you actually free?
Yeah, yeah. What is for your wife, your husband? It's like everything can be a cage. Everything can be if we allow it. I feel.
Yeah, even
Like,
sobriety. That's what I was thinking. No, we diverging. Yeah, William Wilberforce. Yeah.
well, yeah. So what? Going back to this guy, which I found great, but then he did join that religious group, which
Sect.
is the Clapham sect, which is named after a suburb in England, and the amount of people that were in this one was a lot of people who had great capabilities to help with the cause. Ex-abolitionists. I have a guy called Macaulay. We might find his picture and put it up. Ex-slave relationship manager when there was slave back then, and turn around and become abolitionists.
What's a slave relationship manager? Sorry. That sounds like a great job. A slave relationship manager. What kind of relationship? What kind of relationship?
So that was his, I guess, job title before he turned around to be an abolitionist.
So what was the job about?
We'll find out.
A slave relationship manager.
I guess the one that beat people around, and
Yeah.
because it was rough, but like
Yeah. The one
was
that's
no-
like, yeah. Like HR for
like
slaves.
now they make it sound like,
Yeah, like HR for slaves.
yeah.
As a slave, if you want like a pay rise, you go see the slave relationship manager.
Well, yeah, they would. Like, how many? 10 weeks?
10
10
weeks, you
weeks
get
for-
instead of telling it 5, go see the slave relationship. Yeah.
This is out of a story. Like, oh, you know what I would like to delve in is the history of Mauritian slave.
Oh
slavery.
yeah, I've dived into it.
Like the
a
people
few
that
times.
went on that mountain to
Yeah, Le
jump.
Bon. Yeah,
To
they
jump.
live there. They live there, and there's a lot of stories about actual maroon slaves, both men and women. It's fascinating. It's great, but you don't know these stories if they are. There's a lot of folklores, like tales that's been told. You don't know if they're real or just urban legends, urban myths, but they're cool.
That's the type
Yeah.
of movies I would like to do.
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. It's very deep.
Anyway, going back to that guy. Okay, we've had to
William
this-
Wilberforce.
William, but the fact that as powerful as he is, he surrounded himself with other people that
We're on the same mission.
on the same mission.
Yeah.
Like, and there was a point in his life where he was so sick, people thought that he would give up on all these ideas of
Yeah.
abolishing
You know,
slavery.
yeah, but so I don't know the exact date, but I know exactly when he died, which was
1833, I think.
3 days after the
Thing was
Abolition of
passed.
Slavery Act was passed. He's like, okay, I'm done,
Yeah.
and he died, which is pretty like amazing, to be honest. Like, you know what I mean? So
I think I have the date here.
he had a mission.
1833, I think.
Yeah, and he was the first vegan activist. No, I'm actually not
Was he
joking.
vegan?
No, he was against animal
Animal
cruelty.
cruelty. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
vegan activists,
Animal cruelty.
yeah, that's what they are. They're against animal cruelty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why they don't eat animal-made products. So he was the first vegan activist, and he was Christian,
Yeah.
full Christian.
Yeah, but they don't want you. It doesn't go well. The
With the agenda.
the veganism agenda, and the
Jesus.
Christian agenda.
Imagine,
The-
yeah, Jesus actually, the guy was full Jesus Christian, not Christian, I'll say like a follower of Christ. I always say follower of Christ. Sometimes I don't really like the word Christian for some reason. I think it has a bad connotation. I always say follower of Christ. Had an encounter with Christ, he created the ISPCA. He was the first vegan activist. But that doesn't align with the views of, okay.